First off, just want to join everyone else in saluting Bruce Cooper as he wraps up a great 34-year run at Channel 12. I know how much Coop has meant to not only this community, but the Cardinals organization. And as a son of a high school football coach, the work he's done with high school football in this area and the Friday Night Fever has provided lasting memories for those kids and their families that they'll carry with them forever. So appreciate you, Coop, and enjoy the fishing.
Very nice. Thank you, Coach. We'll start off the questions with Darren Urban, Kyle Odegaard, and Bob McManaman, please.
Hey, Kliff, with all the news across the league in terms of players opting out and testing and stuff, are you pleasantly surprised that it seems like it hasn't gotten to you yet in terms of the testing? And have you talked to anybody about potentially opting out at this point?
I have not had those discussions. That's obviously an area that we respect and understand. Every person in this league has to do what's best for themselves and their family. And so I think you've seen the league is very understanding of that and want guys to do what they need to do in their own personal lives. And so I have not had those discussions yet, but that's something obviously we're open to.
Kliff, do you get the sense that there's been pretty good buy-in from the players as far as following protocols? And how much in the long run do you think it's going to be luck versus doing due diligence and not letting this become a big thing?
I feel like the longer we go, the more it's about doing your due diligence and doing what's right. As far as we know, protocol-wise, and being where you should be and trying to avoid situations that you could put yourself at risk. We all have a great appreciation right now that are at this facility for being able to have a job and being able to be together and try to pull this thing off. But we also understand it can be taken quickly. And I do feel our players understand what their actions will accomplish and what, the wrong actions can tear down. And I like where our mindset's at. It's going to take everybody for the entire 6-7 months. And I do feel like our team understands that.
Hey, Kliff, I'll ask a similar question, staying on topic. Why do you think you guys have been so immune from any positive tests? And at this point, and not having a single guy opt out, is that luck, or is it the belief you've got something maybe special going on this year, both, or what?
At this point, I believe it's good fortune. We know we're going to have positive cases at some point. It's just when, not if. And the opt-out, like I said, that's more of a case-by-case basis, person by person, family by family. That's not unique, I don't think, to any sort of expectation for our season. It's just guys have to do what they feel is in the best interest of their family, and we respect that.
Next up, please, Kevin Zimmerman, Catherine Fitzgerald, Richard Sines.
Hey, Kliff, just wondering, I know you guys haven't really hit the field intensely, but the tight end room, it looks a little different this year. What do you kind of want to see when camp hits out of that group? Obviously Max Williams, but guys like Dan Arnold and going down the road there.
Max has been steady Eddie for us, can do it all. We loved what we saw from him last year and bringing leadership and juice to the field. And he's been a great mentor for some of those younger players like Dan, Darrell, Dylan Cantrell, who we signed. So I like the room. I think there's huge upside there. Dan is a guy who's ascending as a player, we feel like, has a great skill set, has a great guy to learn from, and Max in that room. And then Darrell is the same way. Both athletic guys who can really run, stretch the field, and are young players that we feel like have big upside, along with Dylan Cantrell.
Hey, Kliff. I know you're a little removed from the college game at this point, but now that we're seeing things like players across the Pac-12 kind of coming together and, threatening to opt out or having demands, are you surprised to see that extent of collective demands at the college level when it's so different than the NFL?
I am. I haven't been in that space for I don't know how, 13, 14, 15 months. But I was surprised to see exactly the demands that were made. But I just think it goes to show kind of the time we're in. But that's that's a new world for college football, and I'm very appreciative to be in the NFL.
Hey, Coach. Richard Sanchez with Fox 10. Yesterday we heard from DeAndre Hopkins, and he talked about getting goosebumps, chills when putting on the Cardinals uniform, and his excitement to play this year with you guys. What goes through your mind? What does it mean to you to have a player of that caliber so excited to be on your team and be coached by you?
I think when you ask myself or any of the other coaches, when you see him walk out on the field, we probably got the same goosebumps, the first day of walkthrough. Just that caliber of player, the way he carries himself, how he's been with us since we've had him here virtually, and his preparation and attention to detail, and wanting more knowledge. It's just been fantastic, and that rubs off on the other players when you have a guy like that who's done what he's done. Focused and locked in the way he's been. It's been great so far. I'm excited to get him out there full speed, in the next week, and see what type of chemistry we can build with him and our quarterback.
Next up, please, Josh Weinfuss, Nora Princiati, and Mike Jurecki.
Hey, Kliff. How much did you pay attention to what Kyler was doing this offseason back in Texas with his trainers? How often did you talk to him? And what do you think about how he looks now coming back?
We stayed in touch. We text him probably once every 2 weeks or so, and just see where he's at, what he was doing, just checking in. And he's obviously put on some mass. You can tell he's bigger, thicker. I think he understood it's a long season. You're going to take a bit of a pounding, and he wanted to bulk up in that area. And he's been throwing with his dad, since he could walk, and so that continued. And he's been sharp so far in these walkthroughs. I think the mental side of it, the game is going to slow down tremendously. Just his operation, his confidence level, his leadership. I mean, those are all things, even in the first couple of days of being around him, that you can see he's taking big steps, and we just have to continue to take steps in the right direction.
Hey, Kliff, Nora Princiati from The Ringer. Just over the offseason and still going forward a little bit here, as some of your meetings, I think, are still virtual for some guys. Have you done anything in particular with your staff to kind of keep guys engaged and focused when they've had to do so much virtual learning that's just staring at a computer screen?
I'd say the two biggest points we tried to make was, number one, don't make the meetings all about football. Make sure we're checking in, touching base, seeing how guys are doing, touch on some pop culture, some sports, and then make them quick. We wanted to get them on, get them off. We knew it was a challenging time for our players and our country, and didn't, want to make football the focus by keeping them on there an extended amount of time. So it was, hey, keep it interesting, keep it short, and keep it moving.
If we know special teams has made major strides under Jeff Rodgers, what are your options at kick returner and punt returner going into camp?
We'll have to see how the young backs look, bringing it back. But we have some guys, Johnny Dixon's a guy, Chase Edmonds a guy, some different guys that we feel like can be options back there. But until we get back there, won't really know. I love what Coach Rodgers has done in all phases. He'll have a good plan. So I'm kind of excited to see how that battle shakes out myself.
Next, we have Omar Ruiz, Howard Balzer, and Craig Fouey, please.
Hey, Kliff. Thanks for taking the time. DeAndre said yesterday, obviously he's still learning the playbook, and, guys are helping him with it, and how advanced, the guys from last year are in the offense. Now, I'm curious, obviously it's a pretty offensive skill set friendly offense. How much room is there when you game plan and adjust the offense to a dynamic skill set like a DeAndre Hopkins kind of going into this upcoming season?
DeAndre's a guy who'd be successful in any offense. He's proven that, whether it's the collegiate level or in the pros. And so we want to do things that best fit his skill set. And I think that's what we've always tried to do here, is maximize people's skill set, I should say, and maximize our personnel. And he's a generational type talent, and we got to find ways where he's comfortable and can play at a high level immediately. And that's the expectation. I think him and Kyler have developed a rapport throughout the summer, and we just got to keep that rolling.
Okay, not hearing Howard Balzer, so we'll go to Craig Fouey next, please.
Hey, thanks, Coach. Appreciate the time. Hey, are you having any walkthrough time at all right now with veterans, with guys on the field there at the facility? And then do you have an idea of what next week will look like at State Farm Stadium yet?
We are. Yesterday and today were the first 2 days we were allowed to have the vets for some walkthrough time, and it was really good. Obviously, year two, having all three phases back when you're talking about Jeff Rogers, Vance, and myself, much smoother this year, understanding of what we're trying to accomplish, even though we lost a lot of time throughout the spring. But it was good. Guys have a good understanding of what we want to be. And as far as next week goes, we got a long ways to go before we can actually truly practice. We'll get on the field at some point into next week and start moving around, but the real practices won't be for quite some time.
Okay, no Howard, so we'll continue.
Okay, I'm here. I'm
Howard.
here.
Thank you.
I'm here. I'm sorry.
We had the 9 and the 1 dialed, but then we found you, so good.
All right. Sorry. Hey, Kliff. We know the advantages of what can be gained in preseason games, obviously, but curious without games, with maybe having a little more continuity in practice, with not having the break when you don't practice before a game, day after the game, day of the game, travel, and all those things. What could possibly be, and maybe not an advantage, but be gained by that? And then quickly, do you expect Max Williams and Marcus Gilbert back soon from the list they're on?
Yeah, with Marcus and Max, basically it became an extended physical, just some procedural stuff there, so it shouldn't be too much longer. And as the question about no preseason games, it hurts the young players. There's no question. Not being able to get those live reps and show what they can do under the lights for you or the other 31 teams, and that's unfortunate for them. But you kind of mentioned, as far as preparing your kind of ones and twos, guys that are going to be on the game day roster and play in those games, there's something to having that continuity, not feeling like you have to get those young guys as many reps to go out there and execute what they need to execute and not get embarrassed on national TV, really. So I think there can be some pluses to that if it's approached the right way. And week one is going to be a new experience for all of us. Not having the preseason games, but we're going to get as many reps as we can for those guys who are going to be starting that week and see where it goes.
Next up, Kyle Odegaard, Bob McManaman, and Nick King, please.
Kliff, I'm wondering, after a year in the NFL, you look back at 10 personnel, and are your feelings any differently about its ability to succeed in the NFL? And then more broadly, when it comes to personnel groupings, without the preseason and a truncated camp, do you feel like you have to go in knowing what you kind of want to do, or does it depend on those young receivers and young tight ends and how they look in camp?
I'll always love 10 personnel, but I think we felt like as the season went on, we were able to do some different things and be in some different packages. That played into our strengths last year more so, but we'll see where that heads this year. And that's a great question about without having preseason and really getting a live game experience with some of these guys. What type of packages are we going to be in? What type of personnel groups? But I felt like in the back half of last year, we figured out kind of what our identity is and who we can be and the different things we can do. And I'm hoping that continues through training camp. We have another good feel for it going into week one.
Kliff, I'm curious, you had mentioned last week about Pat P being extremely motivated. I guess being not in the top 100 list is going to do that, not mention a contract here. But can you go into more of your thoughts about that specifically?
Just being around him last year as the season went on, talking through things with him, and just, he didn't like the way it was going early. He wanted to come out and play like Superman, like he had his entire career, but it's not possible for any player to sit out 6 weeks and come back and be the player you are, immediately without even really any live game practices or reps or speed. And so it took him a little while. And by that last month, he was playing as good as anybody in the league. And that's what he anticipates to be this season. I know he's on a mission, and I love that. I love that he has a chip on his shoulder. He knows how good he can be, and that's his expectation at all times. So I'm fired up to watch him play this year.
Hey, Kliff. I was basically going to ask the same thing Craig did about kind of the current situation, but I guess to kind of follow up on that, when you talk about walkthrough today and yesterday, like, are you guys even able to put a ball in the air right now?
We are. It's the balls involved, walk through the type tempo, but after doing so much Zoom and virtual meetings over 7 months, I mean, just to get out there and you can only do so much where guys are nodding saying, yeah, I got it. And then you get them out there and you really find out if they got it. So it's been great for us as coaches to actually place guys on the field, execute some things and start moving in the right direction.
All right, we will close out with 4. Darren Urban, Catherine Fitzgerald, Jess Root, Greg Moore.
When it comes to the walkthroughs compared to practice, Kliff, you figure you'd be able to get on the field and do some things and it's not Zoom. Do you as a coach feel like, other than feeling a little more comfortable that your guys know what they're doing, do you feel like you get a lot out of that in terms of evaluation, or do you need to see them on the practice field to really be comfortable with things?
Evaluation-wise, I think you can take a lot of the mental stuff. I mean, we talked about we're ramping up physically for training camp, but mentally, training camp started yesterday when we got on the field for those mental reps. And our guys understand that. So how they transition what they just learned in the classroom out to the practice field, that does go a long way in our evaluation. But physically, we won't get much until in the next week when we actually get them on the field and start moving them around.
Hey, Kliff, how do you see Christian Kirk's role in this offense changing with the addition of DeAndre Hopkins? And then separately, I know last week you mentioned the challenge on Zoom of no one laughing at your jokes, and I was wondering what your best joke had been.
Yeah, best joke is not family friendly. But with Christian, it's I expect him to take the next step as a player. You get DeAndre in, you have Fitz, you have some of these young guys. I see the production and I see the potential to go through the roof. I mentioned last year before he got hurt, I thought he was going to have a really, really big year, and unfortunately had the ankle that slowed him down. But you see his mentality. You see second year in this offense, third year in the pros. He just looks like a different guy, and having a guy like DeAndre around him day in, day out is just going to make him that much better of a player and that much better of a weapon for us.
And Kliff, obviously, as head coach, you have to kind of pay attention to all the stuff. But are there any starting jobs, rotational positions, or even players that you're going to keep an extra eye on as we hit the competition part of camp?
I don't think so. I think right now, just taking a holistic approach to trying to inch it along and maximize each day we have as a team. It's such a unique season and training camp that's kind of my thought. And once we get the pads on down the road, a couple weeks into actual padded practices, I think we'll be able to kind of sit back and say, all right, here's the battles. But right now it's just about maximizing each day we're here and making sure the players, leave the facility a day better.
Coach, good to see you. How you been?
Doing great. Thank you.
Good to hear. With all the social justice stuff, the protests and this, I'm curious what your role has been with the team as you've gone on. Like, is this something where you lead conversations? Are you just listening? Are you giving guys space to have those chats? Or has it just kind of not come up?
No, we've definitely discussed it. Throughout the virtual off season, there was a lot of, obviously, time on Zoom spent discussing it. And I said my kind of piece on it, but I did a lot more listening, and so did our coaches, and our coaches, whether it was in position meetings or in our team meetings, did a great job. I felt like kind of, saying their part, and so that'll be a continued discussion moving throughout the season, and continue to make sure that we keep that at the forefront.